Hello, people of YouTube. My name is Steve Gray. This is Gray's channel, and thank you for watching. Today, we are going to be talking about Harley Quinn, Season 3, Episode 4. I know I am still technically an episode behind. I'm going to try to do 4 and 5 today and then have one released on Saturday. I do, however, have a test I have to take tomorrow, so we'll see. So let's just get kind of right into it. Honestly, this wasn't that overwhelming of an episode. So we kind of start off with Frank and Ivy. They're just trying to basically get Frank to be able to pollinate pretty much everything in the Gotham area. So Ivy is working on her serum here. Frank is essentially has very similar powers to Dr. Psycho. He's basically a giant psychic plant thing, is the best way to describe it. We have Cy Borgman is back in. He is not dead. He is uploaded to the computer system software. So he is actually part of the team again, which is pretty cool. He can kind of be a computer hacker. We have Frank here just trying to, help Ivy out. And then Ivy, clearly annoyed because Harley and the gang decided to start a band with a bunch of instruments that Catwoman stole from the 2012 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I didn't actually look into this to see if these are parts of it, but we have like the whole drum cage here. It's a pretty funny sequence. For those of you that don't know, this image right here, everybody's like, turn your amps up to 11. Most amps don't go to 11. Most amps go to 10. That is kind of a music industry joke for those of you that are not familiar with that. And the major issue here is that Harley is pretty much annoying the living crap out of Ivy. She just wants one day of peace and quiet to do her work. And there we go, Shark. King Shark's upside down. And she is basically kind of too much of a chicken, as Frank puts it, to do anything about it in a kind of, hey, this is important to me. You're kind of being super annoying right now. Basically you need to be more blunt about it. And Ivy's not doing that. So then we go to Jim Gordon. The mayor is actually still alive, has a pipe in him, as you can see, in a coma. And Commissioner Gordon's polls are just very terrible. His daughter is like, well, just be honest, be you. Don't do all of these things Two-Face telling you to do. Two-Face obviously being, at this point, I don't know if he's like an ex-villain or he's still a villain. I think he's still a villain at this point in time. But he's like, yeah, we're just going to do a bunch of corrupt stuff to get a bunch of money. So, this is kind of for explaining it. You can do it, Dad, you can do it. And then at the end of it, he's just like, all right, how do I get that money? So now we have a cool Japanese toilet that came out of the wall. And this is kind of the part where I was mentioning earlier where Ivy just can't tell Harley the truth. So basically, she tells her that Catwoman is saying you can't use all these things, so Harley goes out of her way to break every security camera in the house. Ivy finally gets the breakthrough she's looking for, and then they go to this macaroni place, and then when they come back, someone has stolen Frank. Cy basically explaining, hey, someone broke all the security cameras, and Harley not fessing up to the fact that she was actually the one that broke all of those security cameras. They end up going to the Joker because they find this brooch. Joker is actually a pretty solid dad. He's definitely doing it in a villain-esque way. Before he even starts swearing and getting angry, he actually tells the kid, put on headphones. He doesn't want him to hear all of the swearing and anger that's going to come out of him. Basically, there's this owl organization that Joker specifies as a bunch of rich white dudes yanking each other's ding-dongs, I guess is the best way to describe it. And the password to this owl organization is Hoot Hoot. And Harley said that's like the stupidest thing ever. So they're in this organization. They're going to sacrifice a goat, but I guess there was enough complaints about it where now it's a piñata. It looks like there's like stuffed Twizzlers. Two-Face gets Gordon in there to kind of try to promote himself. And he acts like Gordon. ends up running into Bruce Wayne. Bruce actually gets really concerned that he thinks it's Batman, but it's not, and he's just trying to butter up Batman. Bruce, I should say, throughout this, trying to get some money for his campaign. We have Bane. Bane shows up and doesn't really play that much of an important role, but Harley's like, "Oh, I know you're the one that did it," and he was like, "No, I didn't do it. I was in therapy, and I think that we should all do like a group therapy session because I want my boss to make her." Harley then confronts Catwoman, who so happens to be there, and basically says, the security cameras. And then Catwoman is like, "Well, yeah, no, your issue is with Ivy." Then this is where Ivy finds out that Harley breaks the security camera, so this ends up leading to a fight, where she ends up saying, a couple of years back, I hooked up with Catwoman. Catwoman's actually just enjoying the drama, enjoying the show, as we are, as the viewer. A little bit of a fourth wall breaking there. They get into like a huge, giant fight. And Harley just kind of stomps off. Cy previously was like, "Hey, the only thing I found was a picture of this person's butt, and there's a hairy mole on this person's butt. So this is the person you need to find." And a little to behold, at this owl place, there is a giant orgy. And I'm going to try to skip past most of this. It's all blurred out, but I don't want to get yelled at for typical nudity nonsense when it's not actually in there. It is all blurred out, so nothing really to worry about. But if I land on a picture, I'm going to skip past it, some of it. So they're basically Ivy's trying to calm Harley down at this point, and look, we've got an opportunity here. Everybody's kind of in the nude. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm wondering if it's this dude, because this is the only of all of the people in this orgy. That is the guy that's talking to Commissioner Gordon. He's the only one they single out, so I'm wondering if he's the one that ended up stealing Frank. Gordon accidentally drops his phone, and it's recording the entire time. The kind of Harley and Ivy are reconciling again, their relationship. Basically, Ivy saying, "I wanted more from Catwoman." Catwoman clearly didn't. It was never. I thought it was a relationship. It was never a relationship to begin with, and I didn't even realize it wasn't a relationship until I ended up being with you. So that was kind of a nice gesture there. And they're good. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to they're good. Two-Face is like, "Oh, you didn't get any money." Bruce Wayne actually did manage to, I don't know if he actually got the check, but Bruce said, "If I cut you a check, will you leave me alone?" And then Commissioner Gordon was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "All right, let me go get my checkbook." So I don't know, he might have actually already got some of the money, but Two-Face is going to use the accidental footage filmed by Commissioner Gordon in order to blackmail all of the elites of Gotham. And we're still basically kind of at the end here. The relationship is mended. They're perfectly fine. Frank is not. Frank is strapped in at some sort of table, and Frank's, he's Frank. He's swearing like, "Oh God, oh God." And I'm assuming next episode we're probably going to get Frank back, or they're going to look into it more. This was definitely more of a relationship episode. It wasn't very action-packed. The band scene was fun. I really enjoyed that initial band scene back in the beginning. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, there we go. We're pretty close to it. But I thought it was really cool. They threw the band thing in there. I am a very music-centric person, as you know, obviously having my guitar channel. But definitely not a very action-packed episode. Not what I would think Harley Quinn fans would expect, if that makes sense. So I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Definitely not the strongest episode. I don't know if this is something that HBO kind of pushed for. I mean, yeah, I understand they're trying to pull the sex card with the whole orgy thing, which I thought was kind of unnecessary and irrelevant, but I guess with the whole butt mole thing, it does become relevant. But it's just kind of like, okay, they're having a fight. It's kind of a lover's quarrel type situation. It's not kind of the action-packed drama that we've expected, I would say, at this point of Harley Quinn, which is why it's getting a 6 out of 10. Definitely, there's already been 2 episodes I didn't care for this season. Episode 2 didn't particularly care for, and now episode 4, so I'm wondering if this is going to be one of these things where, like, every other episode I don't particularly care for it, because there's the action, the fighting, all of that good stuff. Yeah, there's some character development in there too, and yes, we're developing their relationship throughout this because it is, this is Ivy's season, pretty much. At this point in time, we're 4 episodes in. At the time of me recording this, or 5 episodes released, we're only getting 10. So I'm wondering if next episode is probably going to be action-packed, and they're kind of double-dipping. Like, all right, we got to do the relationship stuff, and we also got to do the stuff that initially kept people in here. So let's bring in the fighting, the violence, the sexual nature of things to get the audience to stay there. But I think that, I don't know, this whole episode just was kind of boring to me. I definitely wasn't into it like I was last episode with all the action, because that's kind of what I'm expecting out of it. I'm expecting the fighting, the violence, the action. Sure, I don't mind some relationship stuff, but when you make an entire episode about it, it kind of slows you down. It's kind of like, oh, let me check my phone real quick while I'm watching this, or oh, I'll just go pause it and do something else and come back to it. It's not something where, I felt compelled to sit down and watch the entire episode in its entire length without being distracted by other things, if that makes sense. So that's where I'm going to end it. My name is Steve Gray. Thank you for watching. Please comment, subscribe, like, and turn on that notification bell. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.